Hello, dear friends. I admit I got a little lost in the shuffle due to the constant flow of news. In theory, we shall be analyzing the hypocritical statements of various political actors on a daily basis. Today, I am here with a contribution on the topic of Trump, CBDCs, and the future. After just a few days of his mandate, it is always much more clear to me that a battle of titans is taking place here, at the top of the pyramid. Donald John Trump, as a very loud puppet, must not leave the impression that he is nothing more than a puppet. What does he do now? Tons of executive orders, according to the Republican cowboy principle. He annoys all of South America by ruthlessly sending people in handcuffs and tethered feet back to Colombia, Brazil, and Mexico with his U.S. Army. He renames the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of the United States of America, claims to want to take back the Panama Canal, and flirts with annexing Canada and buying Greenland. He has let it be known that it would be great in the Gaza Strip if everything was cleaned, because a super tourism resort could be built there on beautiful beaches. My reaction, dear friends, this man is now dement. If he were bright in his head, there would still be a filter in his brain. The elephant in the china shop in the truest sense of the word. The only positive thing is the decision to leave the WHO. Back to central bank, digital currency CBDC, and the Great Deception Trump. On January 23, 2025, he signed an executive order explicitly prohibiting U.S. authorities from taking action to establish, issue, or promote CBDCs within the jurisdiction of the United States or abroad. Many alternative media immediately took up this ban and immediately assessed it positively. I do not share this attitude for several reasons. For one, the main institutions working on this new currency are not subject to U.S. jurisdiction. Neither the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, the central bank of the central banks founded in 1930, nor the International Monetary Fund, nor the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, or the World Bank, all of which are developing CBDCs on a high pressure. Even though the IMF, the World Bank, and the United Nations are based in the USA, they are exempt by law from prosecution by the U.S. judiciary. These already shows that the ban, similar to many other regulations in the area of finance, leaves a lot of loopholes open to circumvent it. But that's not all. Since 1913, the monetary policy of the USA has not been set by the president, but by the U.S. Central Bank, Federal Reserve, the so-called Fed, which was founded at that time in December 1913. It is thanks to the Fed and not the White House that the USA intervened in the First World War in 1917 and completely subjugated the world market in the years that followed. The Fed also ensured that at the end of the Second World War, a world financial system was established in Bretton Woods, which gave to the U.S. dollar global financial sovereignty, and it was the Fed that ensured that the world was flooded with U.S. dollars after the world financial crisis in 2007-2008, and that the financial markets were artificially driven up by interest rate cuts to almost zero. So it basically doesn't matter what a U.S. president decrees in an executive order. What matters is what the Fed wants. And this Fed is nothing more than the spearhead of the U.S. banking cartel, which in turn has been dominated for several years by the most powerful financial force that has ever existed on this planet, the Big Three, namely the asset managers BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. BlackRock is clearly number one among the three, among other things because the Fed made BlackRock its most important advisor after the global financial crisis, and since BlackRock now dominate all markets in the world, this means none other than the Fed's monetary policy is currently in the hands of BlackRock. The question therefore arises as to why Donald Trump would sign such an executive order at all, if he does not have the power to enforce it anyway. There's a very simply reason for the whole thing. We have now experienced 4 large-scale attempts to introduce the CBDC. In October 2020 in the Bahamas, in April 2021 in the Eastern Caribbean Union, in October 2021 in Nigeria, and in July 2022 in Jamaica. The decisive thing is that all these attempts have failed miserably, namely because of the resistance of the respective population, whose overwhelming majority has not accepted this money. And not only that, criticism of this money has spread very quickly worldwide. In the USA, too, CBDCs have even become an election campaign issue, and Donald Trump promised not to introduce CBDCs in the USA even before his election. So the fact that he is now signing an executive order on the subject is nothing more than an attempt to appear credible. But what will happen next? Trump's deceptive maneuver will soon be exposed? I don't think so, because those responsible have learned from the 4 tests and are now pursuing a new strategy, and it looks like this. Instead of offering people the new money on a wallet directly connected to the central bank, as in the Eastern Caribbean, the Bahamas, Jamaica, or Nigeria, bypassing the commercial banks, they are now taking a different approach in cooperation with some major banks. In this way, people are not give the feeling that their finances are subordinated to a central authority, but continue to be subordinated to several competing financial institutions. People continue to be left believing that their future digital money is no different from the digital money they have already used in the past. But this is a fatal error. In contrast to the old digital money, the new money will be programmable, it will have an expiration date, will be subject to arbitrary restrictions, and can be tied to a social credit system. In addition, like the planned CBDC, it will be a 2-class monetary system, in which one money will be valid for normal citizens and the other only for the very big players in the financial casino. This is a long-cherished dream of the financial industry, which means that although the new money is issued via commercial banks, it has all the properties of CBDC without being considered CBDC. Anyone who, like many alternative media, perceives this as progress is helplessly at the mercy of the coming development. To all those who do not want to end up in a centrally controlled digital financial prison, I advise that to face the hard facts and use these findings to prepare for a turbulent future, which means nothing more than seeking security outside the existing banking system. In other words, to rely as much as possible on tangible assets.
Napoletano.